Welcome back, everybody, to What's Up, Bolts? I'm Fernando Ramirez. That's sunglass wearing, cowboy hat don, and son of a gun is Dan and Daygo. It's been a while.
Yeah, you could tell the
Okay.
rust, Brown. Let me be like the scarecrow and put some oil in you, Mr. Tin Man. That way you don't you quit rusting over there.
Oh, I know. It's been a little bit. I think the last time we were on, we had Jeff Miller on, and we had just gone through the
The
Chargers
legend.
schedule.
The
So it's been
legend.
about a month, but obviously we didn't want to come with it during OTAs because it's a little bit of a tease. But now that we've gone through minicamp and there's a little bit of a break, we wanted to give you guys a recap of everything that I've obviously seen at Chargers Park being there and just go through a couple of things. But yeah, so basically we're gonna talk a little bit about what Justin and some of the players are saying about what this offense is gonna look like. Austin Ekeler speaks about his frustrations. Derwin James talks about who's gonna possibly be next to him in this offense, so or on the defensive side of the football. So definitely going to be some interesting stuff moving forward, especially um because I mean well, let me ask you first, Dan, how are you doing? I forgot
I'm all
about
right,
that.
Brown. We've talked about this a little bit. I'm just gonna tell everybody real quick. Just like I'm not a fan of the NFL draft process and stuff like that, I'm not putting too much hype into OTAs or whatever mini camp, whatever this thing is now. 'Cause for the most part, I think they're in shorts the whole time, right? To
Yeah.
begin with. Yeah, so I'm not worried about what they're doing in shorts. Everybody's look like a gosh dang Hall of Famer in shorts. I can't wait for training camp. Get these prescription needing eyes up there to see what I can see what happens up there, see how some of these guys look. You already know I'm a lineman for life, so I can't wait to see. Of course, I forgot his name, but the guy out of Clemson, I can't wait to see him. Hopefully, see him get some 7-on-7 or one-on-one pass rushing drills going and stuff like that. See how he does against Sebastian Joseph Day and some of these other guys who got drafted. So, like I said, I'm not gonna put too much stock into mini camp, so it is what it is. So let's get to it.
Yeah, no, definitely. They're I mean, and really it's I understand that they're all in shorts and everything, but when you're really gonna get a sense of what these guys are and who they, by the way, it was Jordan McFadden. Um
That's what it was. Yeah, I
when you're
can't.
really gonna
I
get
was
a
blanking.
sense, yeah.
You could tell. It feels like a lifetime ago since when the draft happened, dude.
Oh my god, I know. You're gonna get a sense of who these guys are. The way I kind of get a sense of who's looking at who's been good, who's been what, is when you speak to the players,
Yeah.
and that's usually when you get kind of a good sense of who's who. And that's why, I mean, and we're gonna start it off here. I mean, the sense I've been getting from a lot of people is Quentin Johnston is really impressed as a first round draft pick. And I know there was some fresh, and it's so funny. Well, we'll get into that in a little bit, but I know that there was some frustration by Charger fans when they drafted him. They're like, "Oh, what about Zay Flowers?" And it's like, the dude's 5'9". He's a small receiver. You really need somebody who maybe at one point could be your number one, and it feels like Quentin Johnston could at one point in the next few years take over as a number one. And I'm not trying to jump the gun or anything, but it's just that's a sense. I mean, Derwin James at the golf tournament, I asked him, and I point blank asked him, and you guys can go back in the video and listen. And I asked him, hey, who's a player that you feel like who's a rookie that's really stood out? I thought, to be honest, he was going to give me Thule or
One of
Dayon
the
Henley or
defense guys. Yeah.
a defensive guy. And he goes, Quentin Johnston. And I look at him and he goes, he's that guy. And I'm like, oh, wow. I'm like, okay. I'm like, so he must be getting it. And then Keenan talks about him and he's like, yeah, he's pretty good. And then Justin says he has a chance to be really special. And you're like, oh, and then Mike also said he's really fast. He can do a lot of different things. And you're like, oh, wow. So he's going to bring a different component to this defense or this offense. And and honestly, Dan, one of the things that I noticed, and I've been noticing during OTAs and even during minicamp, in OTAs, Mike wasn't there. Josh Palmer hasn't practiced. I think he has something going on with him. Jalen Guyton still hasn't practiced either. So I was watching Quentin at times, and as soon as it would come off the field, Dan, he goes straight for Keenan Allen. straight for Keenan Allen. Just start talking, going over stuff, and Keenan and him would chat. Then other times he'd come off the field, go straight to Justin Herbert and ask him, "Hey, what do you think?" And you could tell that they were going through stuff. And he would come onto the field, and it seemed like he would pick it up right away. And I know people are amazed by some of the circus catches he made during OTAs and everything. But for me, it's a learning aspect. He told us after the draft, he's like, I am going to be a sponge and I want to pick everything up. And that's what Mike Williams said. Mike Williams, like, he's picking things up so quickly. It's incredible. It's nice to see. So I think Quentin Johnston is really kind of, he's kind of put his stamp on this. And obviously Brandon Staley was like, oh, I can't wait to see him in pads. That's where we're really going to see who the real Quentin Johnston is. And yeah, that is true. But I mean, at first you kind of have to do, like, first impressions do mean a lot. So the first impression, I think Quentin Johnston's allowed to go on a date, at least with the daughter. Can he marry her? Who knows yet? Because obviously that's what training camp's going to be in the games. But as of right now, he's allowed to go on a date with the daughter. So it's been good to see what he's done so far.
Well, I think you just embodied what minicamp is. It's just for the guys to get together, get to know each other. And, you know, ever since he was drafted, I think in his first press conference, he was saying all the right things. Now you telling me that because you're the insider, you're in there. So all, again, sounds like all the right things, because that's what you want. Like, as a young buck going into these buildings, you should be picking the brains of the 10-year vets, the 5-year vets. You should be picking their brains to try and not only improve your own game, but to make sure you build that type of unit cohesion and build that type of rapport with your players. Because let's be honest, Frown, no one's going to go to hell for a stranger. So you've got to have some sort of relationship with your teammates to make sure everything goes well. Because you remember, I think it was Justin and Josh were rookies at the same year, right?
Josh Kelly?
No. Palmer. Or no?
No. Justin. No, Palmer's only been in the NFL over 2 years. This is third year.
Okay.
This is Justin's fourth year.
Well,
so
you remember, I think it was last year or his first
year.
After
practice.
Always throwing with Justin after practice, and it paid off. You could tell right away because in the game he felt comfortable enough to look at him. So sorry to the listener, my long way around. That's what I'm getting at. You have to build that type of rapport, so you feel that type of connection and trust between yourself and the quarterback, or yourself and your teammates. And it looks like he's doing all the right things. So it's going to be interesting to see, like Brandon Staley says, what happens when the pads come on.
And it's funny because the reason why I chuckled at the beginning when I mentioned that is because I still remember when Justin Herbert was drafted, fans were angry. I remember I tweeted it out. I'm like, hey, Chargers draft Justin Herbert. And fans were like, well, Isaiah Simmons was right there. Why wouldn't you get him? This and that and that. And like now all of a sudden, like obviously time
Not me.
And
I was always with the tribal chief round.
Oh no,
I was glad.
I remember
I thank Miami from day one. God bless Miami.
And I have
Florida.
And maybe one day, maybe, you know what, if we get to 700 subscribers, I will show you guys the video of Dan and Daygo when Tua Tagovailoa was drafted, so you guys can see.
You need to chill with these giveaways, dude.
With Tua and Herbert. I'll show you both videos of
you need to chill.
No, I'll give you the Tua one. The Tua one's the funny one.
Yeah.
You guys need to see the Tua one. That's the one that
masterclass.
So definitely.
I think telling everybody who will hear me, if Justin Herbert was on the Dolphins with those weapons and other things like that, already probably won a Super Bowl or at least made an AFC Championship appearance. Guarantee he's that good, dude.
Well, I think last year the Chargers would have been a lot better and maybe even contended for the division if Keenan. Because remember that Raider game, the Chargers were up on the Raiders at the and I'm not saying that meant anything, but in the first half when Keenan was in there, they were on the Raiders and they were throwing down the field and they were doing a lot of different things. And it's as soon as Keenan went down with the injury and then Mike sustained his injuries and all the injuries all around, I mean, that's what kind of hurt their offense.
Story of my life.
And at times, Justin was still slinging. Remember in San Francisco, they weren't that far off from No. Without Keenan and without Mike, you took it to a Super Bowl contending team. Then the week after, you have to play the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. And you took it to Kansas City as well with Keenan was back, but Mike left in the first quarter. So, I mean, you're basically there. If the Chargers can have a healthy team, there's no reason why they shouldn't contend with Kansas City. And it's funny because Mike even said it because and let me just get this out of the way. Mike did speak about, we hadn't talked to him since what happened to him with the Denver Broncos. We spoke to him that the week before that happened, and he said, I have full confidence in Brandon Staley. If he felt like that was a necessary thing, then that was a necessary thing. Because if Mike would have gone in there, scored 100 or got 100 yards and scored 2 touchdowns, and then Brandon sat him, everybody would have been fine, and everybody sees the end result. But at the time, I guess he felt like it was fine for them to go in there and obviously play because coach wanted to keep the momentum going of us being on that winning streak.
Yep.
So obviously Mike believes in what Brandon was saying, but then you could tell when we asked him about the Jacksonville game, you could tell the juices were flowing for Mike, and he's like, yeah, I mean, I definitely think I could have helped in that game. And then you kind of saw the light bulb hit him. If the Chargers would have won, they would have played the Chiefs the next week. And if it would have been a healthy Mike and a healthy Keenan and that offense was healthy, they probably think that they could have gone in there and maybe done a little bit more damage than what Jacksonville did. But obviously, that's water under the bridge. It's a new season.
That's right.
But definitely some interesting stuff from Quentin Johnston. I know the team is excited. And really, I think that if Josh Palmer can get healthy by, and that's what Staley said, that he expects all, I think it's 89 guys, all 89. They have one roster spot open. I think he said he expects all 89 guys to be ready to go by the start of training camp. So if you do have that, that's going to be interesting because we're forgetting about Josh Palmer in this offense now that Quentin Johnston's in there. Josh Palmer is still a big part of this offense. It's going to be interesting to see kind of how all this is going to work because the Chargers have a lot of receivers. They have like what turned into probably a weakness last year is now a huge strength, especially if you can stay healthy because the ball's going to be going different ways. And obviously we spoke to Justin and we asked him, is the sense that you're getting that you guys are going to be throwing the ball down the field a lot more in this, or like being like, what was Kellen Moore's message about him being aggressive? And here's what Justin Herbert had to say about that.
Just to make plays, he's kind of talked about it. Go do your job, exactly what you're doing, and go through your reads, and he's going to do his best to put us into a position to win. And that's my job as a quarterback as well, is to be the best teammate, be the best quarterback that I can be, and kind of like I said earlier, get those guys on the outside of the ball, because Mike, Keenan, Q, they're special players, and so to be able to get them the ball, I think that's going to be huge for our offense.
Specifically,
and that's what we're saying. Like, I mean, this offense isn't going to be a slouch, especially if they're healthy.
You'd hope not.
No, but I mean, it just feels like this is probably their best chance, especially with what they have coming on. And Dan, we've talked about it. You have almost 160 million tied up next year in 4 players.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I don't know if all 4 players come back. I think maybe only 2 come back. Maybe a third if you can redo some contracts here and there, but I think this is going to be their best chance. This is going to be the best opportunity that Justin has with all the weapons that they have. I think they have. I don't know if I may put their receiving core top 5 right now, if not top 3, just because of all the talent that they have healthy. Because I'm telling you, Josh Palmer is not a slouch. I mean, last year he had over 70 receptions, 760 yards. Keenan had 700 yards. I think Mike had 900. And then you had Quentin Johnston. I mean, that's just going to mean even more. So I understand why some people are putting Justin Herbert in the MVP conversations, just because they feel like with these guys, he might be able to throw for 5,000 yards and maybe score over 40 touchdowns. And that's the way Kellen Moore and everybody's talking about this offense. That's what it kind of sounds like they think that he's going to put up. But Dan, just what are your and then obviously PFF this week rated the Chargers offensive line as the 9th best in the NFL. And if again, and I said it, you know what, the Chargers should honestly come out with a shirt that says "if healthy." If healthy, I feel like I should be a marketing guy.
Could you imagine?
If healthy, this offensive line is probably the best one that the Chargers have had probably since that 06, 07 stretch. You remember when it was
Chris Thielman, Nick Hardwick.
Chris Thielman, Nick Hardwick. Yeah, those guys.
Yeah.
Mike Goff. It's probably
Wow.
the best offensive line that they've had since then. So this might be the best opportunity that the Chargers have. Obviously, you don't have an LT in the backfield, but
And that I think is going to be a big problem.
yeah, but with the way that it's catered all towards the quarterback, I mean, you just need people that are going to be able to carry the ball and make some plays. But I'll get into Austin in a little bit. But just what do you think about this offense, and how do you think it's going to look?
Well, I think my
it'll look different than Joe Lombardi's, right?
It's going to have to, because I think if it resembles anything, then you're essentially taking a step back and going in the same direction. That's not going to work at all. So I think it's going to be very interesting, because like I've told you here before, like if I was Kellen Moore, the first person I'm getting into my office to talk would be Herbert. And the other thing I'm doing is I'm putting up the names of every receiver, every skill player, looking at their skill sets and trying to build an offense through there. Same with the offensive line. I would really, I would start there. Never mind. Screw the skill players. I'd start with the offensive line, see what their skill sets are, see how well they're in the run game, how well they're in the pass game, what they're comfortable with, what they're not. Then with the skill players, same thing. And you build an offense through it's very famous acronym in coaching, right? It's KYP. Know your personnel. You've got to know your personnel, because if these guys aren't up to, running inside zone, more of these kind of like heavy, you have to really move people. Then you have to get into more of the misdirection, motion, and things like that to really try and, keep the defense, off balance, because they don't know where the ball's going. So that's the first thing I would have done. So it's going to have to look different. I think the only thing that is really going to be an uphill battle for Kellen Moore is finding his second running back, because Josh Kelly's, like we talked about last year, he looked better than he did since his rookie year. The only problem is, of course, he got hurt. But then after that, there's like a drop, and you don't see any of those, because we've talked about this ad nauseum. So I'm not even going to waste my time on it. Where they've had, the Darius Bradwell, of course, now I'm blanking on the name because we've been out of this for
Larry
for a while.
Roundtree.
Larry Roundtree, there you go. And the AJ, no. What's the Spiller? Something.
No, but Isaiah, well, I'll get into him in a little bit.
But that's what I'm saying, though. They were never given reps in the season, and either that's for a reason, because they weren't up to par, or I don't know if shielding them or what, but that's I think a big problem, because
they kept on running your boy Sonny Michel.
Yeah, well, that too. That one didn't pan out. You already saw that. And I think that's a big problem, because you kind of leave more at a disadvantage to where now he doesn't have tape on these guys. So he's going to have to kind of see in training camp and preseason what they got. So I think that's going to be a big disadvantage he has, because he doesn't have Zeke and Pollard, who are a good 1-2 combo. He's going to have to find that. And then the other thing is, like you said, they probably will try and stretch the field a little bit more this year, especially you essentially are 4 wide receivers deep that are incredibly solid. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I think he has to be different, because I'm not trying to get too nerdy about this either, because he should look at, a lot of Lombardi tape in the sense of what he did in the first half that worked, and obviously what he did in the second half that didn't work, and try and meet somewhere in the middle, because the inconsistency between the two halves was just unbelievable last season. So I think he has a little bit of an uphill battle in that sense, because he's accustomed to having the 2 running backs, at least 2 but at the receiving position, he's going to be a lot better, though, because, I mean, he should have 4 very talented receivers who can do a lot of different things. So it's going to be very interesting.
I mean, and even a 5th and a 6th. I mean, Jalen Guyton's no slouch. Like, he can go down the field, he can stretch.
Yeah, but I think
but I'm not saying no. But see, this is the thing. They had him as a 3rd receiver back a couple of years ago.
That's true.
That's not what he is. I think if he suits up, then he's going to be a dangerous weapon, especially if everybody's fixated on Quentin Johnston, on Keenan Allen, on Josh Palmer.
And that's true, yeah.
And so definitely, I think, and then Darius Davis, if another guy, 4th round draft pick, if he makes the team, he could be an explosive weapon, gadget guy that they could use at times. Because I remember the Chargers did it with Andre Roberts. Remember when he was a return guy 2 years ago? Sometimes they would do end arounds with him or little screen passes, and he'd take off. So I think even he's going to be used. So I'm telling you, I think really this is, and then especially with the quarterback not counting, the 3rd quarterback not counting as a roster spot, I think that's going to help the Chargers either keep an extra receiver or keep an extra defensive lineman on the roster. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see. But yeah, like you said, I mean, the Isaiah Spiller thing, he needs more reps, and it seems like they've given these guys more reps, but it's gonna be interesting because I mean that second running back is gonna be interesting. And going now transitioning to Austin Ekeler.
Perfect.
Austin Ekeler
I
is
was
still
gonna
gonna
say
be a
something
big.
about that.
He's gonna still be a big piece of this offense. The only thing is, I think there may be a little bit of a drop off when it comes to scoring touchdowns. Why? Because I think this offense is going to be a little bit different. I don't think he's going to be able to put up 18 this year the way he has. And if he has, maybe it's going to be more in the passing game because of the way this offense is sounding. I think it could be explosive enough to where Justin really does throw for 40 or 45 touchdowns. And because last year he threw for 25. And I know people are saying, oh, that's a down year for him. Yeah, but remember, there was injuries. Now with this offense and with Kellen Moore, a guy who really wants, I mean, remember, Mike McCarthy, oh, he needs to run the ball more.
Big Mac. Big Mac.
Maybe that's Big Mac. Maybe that's because you guys don't have the weapons over there for him to really be able to stretch the field. And maybe you feel like maybe he felt like he didn't have the quarterback. And that's another incredible thing, Dan, to me, is that, remember, Jerry Jones was, I don't want to say the G word, but he was basically grooming him to be his head coach. He was really, and remember, Jason Garrett gets fired. He makes Mike McCarthy keep Kellen Moore. He keeps Kellen, and all of a sudden he cuts ties with Kellen Moore. The Chargers are like, oh crap, really? Okay, well, we want you. Like, come on in. Remember, the Chargers wasted no time. He was fired Sunday morning, and I think by Sunday night they were like, oh, I expect Kellen Moore to become the Chargers OC. And you're like, oh crap.
Well,
Kellen Moore is knocking on becoming a head coach. He's almost there. So this could really count. Remember, Joe Lombardi got a job. He got a head coaching interview with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
After the Chop House Fiend or before?
Yeah, no, after. So can you? Oh wait, no, yeah.
I think it was after.
No, yeah, it was after. It was after.
Before the Peterson hire.
Yeah. Because Urban Meyer came in at the same time that Brandon Staley did.
Yeah.
So can you imagine if Justin throws for let's just say 5,000 yards and scores over 40 touchdowns, the Chargers are in the playoffs to make it to the divisional round? Let's just say Kellen Moore is going to be a head coach next year somewhere else.
Well, that's exactly what we talked about as soon as he was hired. That he's going to be probably a 1-year rental unless this offense completely is in the gutter. Expect him to be a 1-year rental, and you never know, Frau. Maybe old Jerry's playing 4D chess. He's gonna let him go to a different offense or a different team, see if he continues his success. Big Mike might be out of that chair next season.
Yeah, but I'm sure he'd want Dak out of there too. Can you imagine? And I'm not trying to take a shot, but can you imagine, like, you'd go from going from Dak to Justin Herbert? He's probably like, oh wow, like he's probably like. He probably has that Aladdin song in his head, A Whole New World.
Yeah, exactly.
And then can you imagine going back? Can you imagine him having to go back to Dak Dallas as the head coach? He'd probably be like,
"Oh no, we suck again."
So I mean, it's just one of those things where it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Kellen Moore, but. Folks, right now, I'm going to play for you guys. We're going to play for you guys. This is the reason, again, Austin Ekeler, I know some fans are frustrated. Some fans feel like he's burned a bridge and everything. But he said in his press conference, I appreciate the Chargers for meeting me halfway. He's like, I was trying to take advantage of maybe trying to get more for my value. It just wasn't there. And he explains what his frustration really was. About all the stuff with the running backs and everything. So here's what Austin had to say about that. But remember that he did thank the Charger organization for meeting him halfway. He basically, for his incentives, to hit all of his incentives, he has to have basically the same amount, the same stats as almost last year. So that's going to be interesting to see if he hits that. But here's what Austin Ekeler had to say about what his true frustration was when it comes to the running back position.
Situation in your contract. I still have a year left, and so it makes sense. Hey, I still have an obligation with the Chargers here. You know, that's what I signed up for. I understand that. What really is going on that I was really frustrated about was, you know, our top 3 guys getting franchise tagged and really capping the market. You know, with Saquon, Josh and Tony. And so that's really what really frustrated me about what's going on in our current situation. Mine, I get it. I get mine a little bit more than I get theirs. I understand the league has that tool on their side to utilize that in the way when they want to, but it's just really hurt our market just because us as running backs. Sure, you say we have a shorter life. People say we get hurt. Yeah, sure. You can look at the number. Everyone gets hurt in the NFL. But just as far as players in general, we only have a certain amount of time to play this game. And to say, nope, you're going to have to risk it all again on a 1-year guaranteed contract and tell someone that and put them in that situation, not give them a choice, is just tough for me to accept, even though it is the way it is.
Wow. So he's pissed about not getting that trickle down effect.
Well, basically, yeah.
So him to get paid, and he was gonna trickle down off of that.
Yeah. In a sense, that's what his major frustration was, is that those guys got capped with the 1 year, and he really couldn't go to the Chargers and be like, hey, well, I mean, look at this. Like, say that Saquon, because the Giants are supposedly talking to Saquon about maybe signing him to a $14 million a year contract, and I'm kind of like, oh, that's really steep. I mean,
doesn't he always get hurt? Like,
he's gotten hurt. I think out of his 4 or 5 years, he's gotten hurt like
people now,
something like that. But he's gotten hurt like I think 2 years or 2 years. Last year he was healthy and he was very productive.
Yeah, he had a good year. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, he had a really good year.
Yeah.
But going back to Austin, that was his frustration, obviously. And the thing I thought about was, Austin, you should have asked for a contract extension or something like this last year. The Chargers had money. They went out and they obviously spent on JC Jackson, which we're going to get into JC Jackson when we get over to the defensive side. Right now we're talking offensive football. And again, thank you guys so much for tuning in to
all you
Bolts. It's awesome to be back here and doing this. But that was his frustration, is that, and my bad, going back to that. Last year they had money to be able to do something with him, and obviously I didn't think he should have waited till this year, but he said that this year was the last. He had incentives in his contract to hit the first 3 years. In the fourth he didn't, so this year he had no incentive. So that's what the Chargers did. They turned around, they gave him incentives so that he could hit, and so I mean he was happy with that, I guess. But obviously the frustration's there. Obviously, it's unknown to see what's going to happen after this season with him. Would he come back to the Chargers, or will the Chargers re-sign him? That's what we're going to have to wait and see, especially to see what kind of season he's going to have. But Dan, one of the things that I noticed about him is that at times he was getting split out at receiver the way he did back in the days when he was Melvin Gordon's backup. Remember he used to get split out at receiver, and
we called for this all of last year. I don't know what they were doing.
Under Joe Lombardi, they didn't really do it. They did it somewhat with Shane Steichen. I remember they did do it a couple of times.
It was with Shane Lynn. Steichen. I remember that with Lynn. Yeah.
But under Joe Lombardi, they did not do that. They didn't do that very often.
His playbook is like the Cheesecake Factory menu. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, exactly. So that was the thing too, is that you're like, oh wow, okay. So obviously that's going to help the offense even more. Because I remember Austin used to blow right past linebackers, and he would have a 30, 40, 50-yard touchdown. That's where the famous touchdown came up of Phillip Rivers, where he scores
on the screen,
in
right?
Jacksonville. And then Yannick Ngakoue is like, dude, can you stop screaming? He's like, no, I can't. And he starts like yelling and getting all excited. So that's going to be, so Austin obviously said that he's happy to be back. And to be honest, Dan, I was watching him on the field to see maybe if there was a little frustration or something. No, talking to his teammates, talking to the guys, dancing around. He seemed excited, and he told us that he told the other running backs, like, come and take my job. I want you guys to, typical what he usually says, like, come and take my job. And that he talked to the undrafted guys, and he's like, I hope the running back room is better this year. And he's like, I feel like we're going to be better. And he mentioned each guy. And so that's going to, because honestly, you don't want to become a one-dimensional offense. Even if you have Justin Herbert and all the weapons that they have, you still want to be able to run the football consistently. Remember, last year, the Chiefs used their running backs a lot, and they had 3 or 4 different running backs running the football. They each brought something different to the game. and they were running out the clock with them. They would do different things with them. So you still, no matter what, you still have to run the football, run it efficiently, and get positive yardage so that you can move the chains. And I know the game has changed, and everybody thinks, oh, it's a quarterback-driven league. Yes, but you still need running backs to kind of get you over that hump. And remember, last year against Jacksonville, the Chargers tried. They tried to run Austin Ekeler at times, but it just was not working. And that's why you need an Isaiah Spiller or maybe a Joshua or one of these guys to finally step up and say, okay, I'm going to be the number 2. I'm going to be the one that gashes the defense, and I'm going to be the one that takes the time off the clock and helps our team win. So that's going to be a big thing too moving forward.
Yeah, and that's the other thing I was going to say before we jumped into all the Austin Ekeler stuff. I think the number one goal of Kellen Moore should be to find somebody or some way to kind of reduce his touches, because he got a lot of touches last year, and that's only going to wear down his body and everything else towards the end of the season. Like, I understand, getting him the football, he's one of the best players and all that stuff. But it's like you can't run him into the ground either, because that's not going to benefit neither Austin Ekeler, and it's not going to benefit the team. So, like I said, I think the number one thing he's got to find on this team is who's the second running back going to be, that he can split time between them. That way he's more rested come fourth quarter crunch time or, towards the end of the year. That way he's not getting gassed, he's not getting hurt, or he's not wearing down or anything like that. And that I think we've talked about ad nauseum also is going to be the biggest obstacle he has in this upcoming season.
No, and I completely agree. I mean, and the thing is too is that you're gonna have to do different things. Like, you're gonna have to be kind of like Kansas City in a sense. Like, if you could have a Joshua Kelly and Isaiah Spiller and an Austin Ekeler kind of running back by committee kind of thing, that's only going to help your offense out, especially because
100%.
Like I said, at the end in that Jacksonville game, they tried to run out the clock. They couldn't do it. It was tough. So definitely, and like I said, I know some teams try and run out the clock with using their offense and their quarterback and everything, but that's not always going to help. And they're going to need they're going to need the running back.
Every incomplete pass stops the clock. It's like a timeout. So it's you need to be able to run the ball efficiently. Three bad things can happen if you throw the football, for now. An incomplete, an interception. I think there's another one. A turnover, fumble, whatever. If you run the football, there's only one negative thing can happen, and that's a fumble.
Do it again. What's a 3?
So it's an incomplete pass, INT, or the receiver could fumble the football. And if you run the football, obviously the only negative is essentially someone fumbling the football. So it's a little bit risk averse because it's a little bit safer on the ground. But you need to be able to run the football efficiently, period. Like I said, you got to be able to pound the rock in crunch time just to wear down that defense and kill your opponent's momentum.
Completely agree with that, young Padawan. Let's go now. Obviously, Mike Williams also spoke about what he thinks about obviously throwing the ball. So, like I said, they're saying that they're going to be aggressive, that they're going to throw the ball down the field, and that's something that's obviously in Mike Williams' wheelhouse. So let's see what Mike had to say about them. Obviously, this offense being more down the field and them throwing the football a lot more.
You have a new offensive coordinator, new offense. What's been your early impressions on Kellen and this idea of possibly being a little more aggressive?
Oh yeah, for sure. I love it. He moving everybody around, putting everybody in different positions, using everybody to their strengths. So we're looking forward to building this offseason, getting together with the quarterbacks this offseason, and coming into training camp and getting this thing rolling.
There's been a lot of talk about maybe taking more deep shots this season. What might that look like if that comes to fruition?
It's gonna look good. Yeah, I mean, that's what I do. That's how I kind of made my name in this league, by going and get the deep ball. So I think that's gonna look good if we're able to do that.
By the way, I want to officially get his nickname changed. Dan, I don't think he's 80-20 anymore. I think he might be 90-10, maybe 95-5, because, man, last year, remember against Tampa Bay or against the Tennessee Titans, Justin goes to him. They kick that game-winning field goal. A couple of years ago in New Orleans, remember, at the end of the game, he throws it down the field and he catches it. They set it up, and I can't remember who the kicker was at the Money Badger. He missed that game.
Don't even remind me. I'm not trying to walk down this memory lane, bro. I'm not trying to drink today.
Mexico City, you were there, Dan. Mexico City, remember, Philip throws it, heaves it up, and Mike catches it. In Denver, Mike catches it one-handed. Mike at the end of games, and when you need a jump pass, he is the guy. So, Dan, I gotta ask you, we're gonna play a little game. I know you like games.
Oh yeah.
Who would you rather? A jump ball for $1 million.
Oh, I saw this. Give me. I feel like that Max Kellerman clip. I want Andre Iguodala. No, give me. I'm taking Mike. 100%. I'm taking Mike. I think. I don't know why Justin Jefferson. I didn't know he was a 50-50 kind of guy. I thought he was more of like a speedster and a burner.
Well, the way Kirk Cousins probably throws it down the field.
Yeah, I guess so. It might be 50-50. But
people are going off of this play right here.
He's given time. He wants Jefferson. Climbs the ladder.
Oh, I guess one play out of the year. I don't know. I don't know. I would take Mike. I would take Mike Dub. I would take Mike Dub 100%. I mean, obviously DeAndre's good, Devontae's good, and Mike Evans. But give me Mike Dub. I'm for sure taking him. Like I said this.
And honestly, folks, Dan and Daygo doesn't BS. Like, if you really thought Mike Evans or Devontae Adams or one of them was better at it, then he would come out and say it.
Oh, 100%.
But
we don't play favorites here on this program. Neither do the boys at COMPAS FC. There's no fans when we talk about this.
Yeah,
it's all just real takes. But yeah, like what went on in the Raider game, 2 years ago or whatever, winning you're in, and obviously they lose in Las Vegas. The way Mike showed up, the way Justin showed up, I've never doubted.
Remember, Keenan on 4th down had 3 catches in a row.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, I haven't doubted ever since. Like, give me Mike Dub. I'm for sure taking him one-on-one, and I'm taking that mill.
All right, you guys heard it here first. So let's move on. So on Tuesday, Dan, we gathered. We're gathered here today. We gathered as reporters after practice and after a media session to talk to JC Jackson. And he comes up and he sits down. He's like, "What's up, guys? How you guys doing?" And we're like, "Oh, wow. Hey, JC, how are you?" And mind you, last year, it took a little bit for us to build or I'll just say me. I'll just go with myself. It took me a little bit to build kind of a relationship with him just because I was new and he was new. Well, I was getting reintegrated back into the fold. He hadn't seen me all summer or anything.
Yeah.
And he was new to the team, so he really didn't know. But I think maybe 2 or 3 weeks before his injury, we kind of got on the same page, and he would say hi to me when he walked by and everything. So it was good to see him again, and he was in high spirits, Dan, and he told us, he's like, if it was up to me, I'm ready for training camp. Like, I feel like I'm going to be ready to go. June 19th, he has a doctor's appointment to find out what's going to happen with him moving forward. But he said he's excited about it. He's excited about what's going to happen with he's excited about what the team is. He's like, man, we got some ballers on this defense. And they do. They have some very good players, starting players. They're top heavy. I think the defense is a little bit more top heavy than the offense, and I think there's more depth on the offense. But he's like, we have a good squad. I feel like adding me is going to really help. And it is, Dan, because you don't just have to rely on Mike Davis, Asante Samuel Jr., and oh my God, his name is escaping me right now, but he was
Taylor.
Who?
Taylor,
yes. Yeah, Josiah Taylor. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for that one. You don't have to count on those guys. You can bring in a JC Jackson, and you can have a 4-man rotation. That's really going to help. I mean, we've seen the way Asante's grown. Derwin even said it. He's like, Asante, he's starting to become a ball hawk, and you saw it against Asante lately. I know at the beginning of his career, he kind of dropped a couple of interceptions, but he hasn't dropped any lately. If it hits him in the hands, it's coming. He's coming down with it just the way. And I know he doesn't, or I know the comparison, people don't like the comparison, but just like his dad was the exact same way. As soon as the ball hit his hand, he would have it and he'd secure it. But I really do feel, and JC Jackson told us that he feels good. And remember, they were questioning if this was a career-threatening injury.
Or it was
when
nasty.
he first started. So it's been a progression, Dan. He started with the zero gravity. He started first lifting weights, then the zero gravity, running in zero gravity on the treadmill. And then obviously he's gotten out there slowly but surely. And Dan, we saw him on the side, working on the side, running and doing all kinds of things. So he looks like he's close to being back. So if he can, and he said during this time, what I really did is I put my nose into that playbook. I want to learn. I want to get better. I want to understand this playbook. And I don't want to come out the way I did last year. I want to be better. And so, and he's like, I want to remind these guys that I'm Mr. INT for a reason. Dan, 25 interceptions in his first 5 seasons.
Yeah.
He had 0 last year. But that's not like, I know people say, oh, well, it's because of Bill Belichick's scheme and that's it. That's why he's not worked with the Chargers. I don't think that's true. I think there's a reason why he got 25 interceptions. I think if he feels more comfortable in this offense this year, I think he is going to come down with that football a lot more. And the Chargers need it. The Chargers need more turnovers. They need to create more turnovers. And I feel like it's going to start with Derwin. It's going to start with JC Jackson. And I think it's going to start with Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. Those 4 guys, I think are going to, well, obviously if JC Jackson is healthy, but I think that's what it's going to be. If those 4 guys can be healthy, I think the Chargers are going to get a lot more turnovers this year. But I think it's a positive sign that JC Jackson is talking about possibly being back for training camp.
Exactly, and they're going to need all hands on deck. You said there's 89 spots taken right now? 89 roster spots?
I think it's 89. I think it's 89 players.
What do you think the last one's for? Bryce Callahan?
No.
No, I'm just kidding.
I think Daniel Marcano will be signed as a long snapper like he was back in college. No.
The legend. You don't think they're going to bring back Bryce Callahan?
Who?
Bryce Callahan.
I just don't know, because I think they're seeing the emergence of Josier Taylor and you're noticing that JC Jackson may be back. So, I mean, if it was up to me, why not more? The more, the merrier. And I mean, I thought Bryce Callahan had a great year.
Played well last year.
Yeah. At times he got interceptions when they needed him. I mean, in that Raider game, remember the Raiders were driving at the end of that first game of the season. They were driving at the end, and he picked off Derek Carr for I think he threw 3 or 4 picks. He caught that last one, and that really ended the game. So I would bring him back, but I don't know. And Brandon Staley Brandon Staley told us we're not done filling out this. I mean, we're still going to look at guys, evaluate, and do that. The one guy I don't think they're going to bring back is Kyle Van Noy, just because Kyle tweeted out that he was told by the team that they were going to go younger and bring in more.
I forgot about that one too.
Yeah. So
I thought he deserved a contract, but
yeah, I think Bryce is going to probably be the guy that gets brought in, because I want to say, like, I'm surprised John Johnson hasn't been brought in, but that leads us into our next thing, is that it looks like Alohi Gilman might be taking over for that spot next to Derwin James, and Derwin spoke to the media and he talked about Alohi and what he kind of brings to the table. So let's go now to hear what Derwin James had to say about Alohi Gilman possibly being the guy next to him.
A lot of confidence in Lo. He's a guy that's consistent. Everyone here counts on him. Everyone knows he's going to be where he needs to be, and he's getting better. He's making calls. He's confident, and this is exciting being out there with him. It's been a lot of fun, a lot of energy out there, honestly.
So obviously Alohi Gilman is go ahead.
No, I was going to say definitely interesting. That's Alohi, an interesting combo.
Yeah, Alohi's been a guy that the Chargers have kind of counted on, he's made clutch plays. Remember 2 years ago against the Chiefs in Kansas City, he caught that pick.
First year,
he caught that pick. Last year in Cleveland, he caught that interception.
Flashes. That's what it is.
And then again, remember against Miami, he was able to hold it down against Tyreek Hill a couple of times. They had him guard Tyreek Hill, and he was able to do. I think
that's the only thing. He's had flashes, so that's going to be interesting to see. Are those flashes going to pay off, and it's going to be more consistent with more reps, or?
And then they have other guy. Remember, they drafted Mark Webb a couple of years ago in the 7th round from Georgia. He's kind of been hurt. He caught an interception the other day during minicamp. It was a really good one. He just got right in front of the receiver and picked it off. JT Woods is another guy. He was drafted in the third round from Baylor. He kind of didn't really see the field all that much last year, I think, except for the Arizona game. So he's another guy that I think they're going to be counting on. When we were in minicamp, I saw a little bit more of a Lohi and JT Woods back there, with a little bit of Mark Webb, and then Derwin obviously playing different positions.
Linebacker.
But it's going to be interesting to see kind of what Alohi does with it, because I think Alohi I think he has talent. I think he could be a good player, but it's going to be interesting to see kind of how he fits into this scheme, and now that there's no Nasir Adderley, what he's going to do, because like we said last year as a starter, he was able to make some plays, but can he be a sure tackler? Is he good enough to be the last line of defense when it comes to running the football? Because we still don't know what the Chargers team is going to do against the run. Last year they were not good against the run. The year before that they were not good against the run. So can Alohi be one of these guys that if the running back comes at him, it's going to be a sure tackle, or what's going to happen? So that's going to be that's the one question. But I mean, other than that, I think Alohi is solid, and I think he and if Derwin has confidence in him, I mean, there's no reason to doubt Derwin. But it's going to be interesting to see moving forward what that defense is going to look like with Alohi in it.
100%, because that's going to be one of their big question marks. Can Derwin's partner be trusted to make sure he does the right thing? Because it's such a tough position to play, obviously, because you're overshadowed by Derwin James. It's like you don't have to be Derwin James or that level, but you got to be somewhat consistent in the sense of tackling, making sure you're reading everything right, getting in the right spot. So it's something going to be interesting, because you saw last year it was Adderley, then it was Gilman, then it was Adderley, then it was Gilman. So they don't even know who they're really trying to roll with.
It's funny. I was talking about this with Jeff Miller the other day. I was like, what's interesting? I was like, they haven't been able to be consistent with that opposite safety position. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, when it was Eric Weddle, they had Atari Bigby, Bob Sanders. They had so many. They had a revolving door of guys lined up next to Weddle. They never found a consistent partner for him, or a partner that was not up to par, but at least halfway decent that Eric could depend on. And now it kind of, and this isn't against Alohi Gilman at all, because we haven't seen him yet. But same thing with Derwin. Derwin has not had a safety next to him that has been able to be there at his level. And so that's interesting. But maybe, I mean, who knows? Maybe JT would see that. That's my. I have 3 question marks when it comes to this Chargers team. My question marks are the depth at running back, the depth at pass rusher, and the depth at safety.
That's another.
Those are the 3. And I mean, Dan, every team has holes. We all know that. Even Kansas City last year, the Super Bowl winning team, they had holes. They couldn't get to the quarterback. Their pass rush, I mean, besides Chris Jones, who held out a minicamp, by the way, he wants a new contract. I think he's making 19.5, and he wants to make more, he wants to be the highest paid.
Don't worry, Goodell fills that hole every time, Farrell. He says, I don't care how you hit the quarterback after Super Bowl wins. I guess we don't care about the rule book anymore. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So it's going to be, so obviously every team has holes, but can the Chargers overcome these 3 holes? I'm telling you, I mean, I know that they have Chris Rumph and they have Thule and everything, but there's question marks there.
They're asking a lot of the young guys. He's
20 years old.
Yeah.
See, and I know that Yannick Ngakoue, maybe, and not even him, but like there are some veteran pass rushers out there that could help you out and could make a difference, especially in a limited role. Like, why not? But
reduce reps,
especially because we know how they use Joey and Khalil. They're not gonna play 80%. Like, I think they'll probably play about 70 to 75% of the snaps, or 80%, and you're gonna need a healthy rotation. Are they gonna have a
guys
healthy rotation?
who can be productive? Not just guys that feel, have a body out there. Guys who are productive, because that's when you get caught. When your starters get gassed and you have to put people in for a number of plays or drives, and that's when you get caught. That's when the game starts to escape from you.
Because we all know what they have in Joey and Khalil. They have 2 of the best pass rushers in the NFL. But it's like, behind them, what do they have? And then obviously the safety position. I mean, can JT Woods, can Mark Webb, can Alohi Gilman all emerge and help Derwin James out and this defense out? That's gonna be something interesting to watch. But guys, before we head out, we do want to obviously touch on this. Obviously, there's been a lot made about Justin Herbert and his contract situation. He was asked, would you do a hold in the similar to Derwin James if you don't have a contract? People ran with the mainstream media ran with a couple of words that he said. This is the full quote of what Justin Herbert had to say about if he would do something like that. So make sure you guys listen, because I know out there's other other things are being said, but this is what Justin Herbert had to say about that.
It's something that I really haven't thought a whole lot about. I think most of the offseason so far has been worried about, getting my shoulder right, making sure that I'm the best quarterback that I can be for this team. It's something you can address. I'm not quite sure. I don't have any more updates for you at this time, but like I've said earlier, I think the world of the Chargers organization. I've got complete faith in the front office. So that's something that you'll address at the time, but I don't have any updates right now.
The new offense and putting. So you hear that? Organization. That's what I took from it.
So obviously Justin's not that kind of guy. He said it. I mean, he'll go in there and first off, I think the Chargers will get something done before training camp, to be completely honest. I think they need to have something done with him before training camp. Especially because
what you want to do is piss off the guy everybody loves.
Well, yeah.
That is not going to be good.
Dan, the Chargers have 6 primetime games this year. It's not because they look pretty or because their jerseys are the best in the NFL, which they are.
What are you talking about? It's all great. Haven't you seen it?
No, I know, but
drip.
It's all about drip. That's what your players ask you if you have.
I'm not going to get into this. I'm not going to get into drips.
So
drips
obviously, it's not that. It's Justin Herbert. Everybody wants Justin Herbert on national television.
The young goat.
Dude, they have him playing against the Bears and the Cowboys on that. Obviously the Cowboys are going to get all in the top of the national, which God almighty, that Cowboys Giants game to open the season. Think I'm going to be in LA and I don't have to watch it, but that game is going to suck. I've always hated that game. Even when it was Eli and Tony Romo, I've always hated that to start Sunday Night Football, Cowboys and Giants. Like, it's always sucked.
The best 9-8 or 8-8 team.
Yeah, exactly. The Cowboys are lucky. Cowboys are lucky. They'd be an 8-8 team still if they didn't add one more game. But they really, I mean, and most of the primetime games of the Chargers are at home. I think the only one that's away is two. New York and the Raiders. It's in Las Vegas for Thursday.
They love that one for sure.
So, but I mean, who knows? Maybe that game gets flexed if the Raiders are really bad. They could flex that game out and maybe flex in another game.
Yeah, they're going to be very interesting. I still think the dark horse in the division is going to be the Broncos. I think they're going to be really tough. I know you're not a big believer, Frau, but trust me, the football gods
not is because
of me.
No, but because of Russell, I just don't. Russell Wilson to me is just.
He had a bad year. Sean Payton is going to get in there.
I don't think it's a bad year. I think it's his talent is his body start. Remember, he's taking a lot of shots. He's taking a lot of hits.
Seattle,
I think his body is deteriorating. And he lost weight, but okay, losing weight with his height and taking some of these hits. That's why when I heard Tua Tagovailoa was taking jiu-jitsu, I'm like, do you really think Joey Bosa is going to sit you down nicely on the ground? Like, no, he's going to come and he's going to Roman Reigns your ass. He's going to spear you. He's going to take you like Goldberg spear. Like, it's just going to be bad. Like, I don't know.
I don't know why they don't just put those foam helmets.
Yeah,
that they put on top of the helmets.
Yeah,
they need to put that on him, dude. Or something.
So it's just gonna be bad. But again, with the Justin Herbert contract, everybody just needs to wait, chill out. I know every time Justin's hit the podium, he's been asked about it, and I can tell he's kind of hoping the next time he hits the podium in training camp, it's all resolved. I'm sure.
You're not gonna let the golden goose who poops out gold walk away, dude. Like,
I want one, Daddy.
Yeah, exactly, Veruca.
Yeah. You're Veruca Salt.
Yeah, you can't do it.
One.
You can't do it.
You're Veruca Salt, and your daddy is Tom Telesco and Dean Spanos. I want him now. I want him signed now.
Exactly. The son of Odin can't go anywhere, Frau. Or else it's curtains. It's curtains. You might as well close the doors, dude.
No, exactly. But obviously, that they're gonna have to get
have to.
I mean, because think about it, like, are you really gonna wait? Like you have to you're gonna have to get this guy signed. And like I said on a radio call earlier, is that I think it's gonna happen before training camp. I think it's gonna happen before training camp. I think they're gonna get it done, and they're gonna get him signed because he's their guy. I mean, he's the future of the franchise. He's the quarterback. But here's a live look at Dan and Daygo talking to Tom and Dean.
Hey, Daddy, I want a golden goose.
Here we go again.
All right, sweetheart, all right. Daddy will get you a golden goose as soon as we get home.
No, I want one of those.
Wonka, how much do you want for the golden goose?
They're not.
There's Roger Goodell.
Yeah.
I can't.
Man with a funny hat.
I want one. I want a golden goose.
So that's definitely that's Dan and Daygo.
That's a throwback. I do. I want his ass signed like the day before yesterday. Son of Odin home. Keep him. Oh God! Look at that. They're making me sick at the thought of my boy wearing another jersey.
I remember when at the Super Bowl when he said hi to you. He's like, "Oh, nice to meet you."
Shout out, young goat. He's gonna eviscerate all these people. He just needs some talent.
Is there a certain co-host that's gonna have to eat his words?
Oh yeah, I don't know why Hilberto hates him so much. Like he might as well should wear a Mahomes jersey every time we jump on. It's absolutely ridiculous, but absolutely, son of Odin all the way, dude.
All right, well, we appreciate you guys so much for checking out another episode of What's Up, Bolts. Again, don't forget to check out everything on the COMPAS on the Beat Network. Don't forget to check out the COMPAS on the Beat merch.com. Don't forget to check out CompasOnTheBeat.com, and don't forget to check out our other shows, COMPAS on the Beat. We will be taking a little bit of a break from COMPAS on the Beat. If there's any breaking news with Justin Herbert's contract or the Chargers sign somebody or something happens, Dan and Daygo and I will jump on and we will do an episode. And we may be having some guests coming soon, so make sure you're on the lookout for that. But COMPAS on the Beat will be taking a little bit of a break. We're just going to go charge the batteries, get back.
Ready for another chaotic season.
Yeah, get ready for another chaotic season. But we appreciate you guys so much but check out the this past episode. Gilbert talks a little football because Vic, the producer, and Dan and Daygo talk a little Messi, a little soccer, and then obviously we get into some why we love Disneyland and all that. Because Gilbert went to Disneyland. He got there late and left early, but he left late. But
yeah,
but he was complaining about the rides and only Gilbert style. So make sure you guys check that out. Don't forget to check out House of Horns. Don't forget, hey, Combat Compas. We got a surprise for you guys coming up, and it's Dan knows about it. It's pretty cool. So Gilbert and I will keep you guys updated on that. It's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be fun. So make sure you guys are on the lookout for that. Don't forget to check out Compas FC. There's a lot of football that's going to be happening and transfers, everything. There's the Gold Cup, everything coming up. And Compas FC will be on top of all of it. We are not taking a break.
We're going to talk about your boy, Frau, your favorite USA player, Christian Pulisic.
All right, guys, we appreciate you guys so much. The bench, that's the
Champions League winner.
Bench warmer. Champions League winner. But we appreciate you guys so much for checking out another episode of What's Up, Bolts. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment. Guys, if we get to 1,000 views, you are gonna be having lunch with Dan and Daygo. One lucky viewer is having lunch with Dan and Daygo. So it's gonna be awesome. So make sure you guys tell your compas, hey, let's get more subscribers in there. Why? Because there is a lunch with Dan and Daygo on the line, and I want that. Be like Veruca Salt. You want that. And don't forget, if we get to 700 viewers, I will release the video of Dan and Daygo when Tua Tagovailoa is drafted by the Miami Dolphins. So make sure you guys subscribe and let's pump those numbers up. Let's get it going. But we appreciate you guys so much. Thank you guys and have a great little break. And like I said, if there's anything that happens, Dan and Daygo and I will be back. But for the time being, we're gonna chill out and have a little me time. Dan, anything else you want to say before we head out of here?
Yeah, don't forget any questions, comments, concerns. Get them in there. I'll read it and we'll throw them up on the show if you have questions or anything.
And you guys know Dan is on it. So if you guys have any questions about a certain player or anything like that, let us know. We will put it on the show. But thank you guys so much. And again, have a great mini break, and we will be back.